There are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like to study. There's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then just, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, a huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
I'm Salty.
I'm Cam. Gents, how are we?
Good.
I am spiffing.
Today we are going to be looking to the skies. We're going to be talking about the Foo Fighters.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about the Project Blue book.
Don't love the Foo Fighters. Do like some of Dave Grohl's side projects.
All right, let's start with Foo Fighters.
Nirvana is a good band.
Yeah, good side project.
I'm glad he took time away in the 90s to start Nirvana.
Yeah.
Right, all right, funny little joke, but we're not actually talking about the band The Foo Fighters. We're talking about the aerological phenomenon from World War II.
Aeronautical,
maybe. Phenomenon from World War II of Foo Fighters. However, having said that, I have some Foo Fighters, the band conspiracies.
Okay.
So, as you know, the Foo Fighters formed in 1994.
Yep.
By Dave Grohl after the death of Kurt Cobain.
The death of Kurt Cobain. It's just too much Cobain. I need to get out of this.
Did you know that the Foo Fighters was originally supposed to be completely anonymous?
Right.
No.
And he chose the name Foo Fighters because it sounded like there were more people involved.
Yeah.
He says, if I'd ever thought this was going to go anywhere, I would have chosen a name that didn't fucking suck so much.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe you should have chosen a band that didn't suck so much as well. I'm sorry, Foo Fighters fan. They're a good band.
The Foo Fighters have been involved in some conspiracies, though, because they did subscribe for a while to the HIV denialism.
Right.
They did not believe in AIDS. In 2000, they put on a benefit concert for Alive and Well, which is a HIV denialist charity, which was run by a woman called Christine Maggiore.
Right.
And her husband. They also had a kid, Eliza Jane. Eliza Jane died in 2005 of untreated AIDS.
Right.
Christine died in 2008.
Are they sure their daughter didn't get bricked by fucking Nick Cave down by the river?
Christine died in 2008 of HIV-related illnesses. They also provided a number of songs for the AIDS denial documentary, The Other Side of AIDS.
Right. I've never come across this.
So Christine was AIDS pilled by a guy called Peter Duesberg.
Right.
He's a doctor. And his theory about AIDS is that it's actually a lot of different things. Things caused by HIV medication.
Right.
So if someone's taking... It's just a side effect of one of the medications they're giving out for it.
Right.
The gay lifestyle, like taking poppers, amyl, etc., can cause it. Also, but in the doco, The Other Side of AIDS, they go a little bit further. They say also negative thinking can cause AIDS.
Peter, like the Lyme disease thing, right? Where they're like, Lyme disease is actually a whole bunch of other things that just gets lumped together as one thing.
Yeah. Peter Duesberg, it all sounds pretty funny, except for obviously everyone involved so far is dead.
I'm not sure it does sound funny, but you do you.
Peter Duesberg, besides red-pilling Christine, who then red-pilled Foo Fighters, he also AIDS-pilled the South African government His writing and advice helped form their public health response to the AIDS crisis in South Africa, which was a denying response for quite a while. And 2 studies determined that his advice was probably responsible for at least 330,000 excess AIDS deaths.
Jeebus. That's a bit rough.
I also looked up where the husband was. He's now flipping property in Detroit. There was a little story in like a Detroit business mag from a few years ago about him like hustling properties, like buying them cheap.
With vanilla ice?
No, but in the article they do like it seems like one of those property articles. You know, you read the property articles in the Australian media where they're like, oh, this couple bought their first home and you know they saved up and went without coffees and went without avocado toast and stuff, and they bought a house.
Yeah.
And then like halfway down the article, they're like, oh, by the way, they inherited a large amount of money.
The
from
parents
their
gave them a deposit.
The parents gave them a
They
huge
lived with
deposit.
their rich parents for a year and
Yeah.
leveraged their house off their parents' portfolio of properties.
This article's like that, except in the middle of it, it's like, oh, and one of the ways that he financed this in the beginning was that some other cooked AIDS denialist loved his doco and gave him like the capital.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, they seem to have gotten off the AIDS denial bandwagon at some point. There's a quote out there that I can't find the source of, where Nate from the Foo Fighters, who is I think the guitarist, Nate Mendel, he said he was extremely inarticulate and ill-informed when they did that.
Right.
Benefit concert and contributed songs to the thing 4 years apart.
I think it was all him. I have a vague memory of looking this up once. It was all him pushing it.
Yeah.
And the others were like, yeah, whatever, we'll do your little thing.
There is a little video from the concert where Dave Grohl is talking about it. He's like, yeah, people shouldn't be afraid of AIDS. It's like, maybe you're just a little bit skew-whiff on it though. In 2013 though, he did perform at the Elton John AIDS Foundation Gala.
Oh, but if bloody Elton calls you up and says, you're right, mate, doing a gala, you'd be like, well, of course I'm coming.
course.
You're Elton John.
Also in 2013, their drummer Taylor Hawkins did a benefit concert for Generation Rescue, Jenny McCarthy's vaccine autism charity. So
yeah, one, okay, might have been a misstep. 4 years apart, all right, now you're dicey territory. Now you're doing anti-vax stuff. Come on, Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And my final bit of Foo Fighters conspiracy gear, just last year, just a month ago, in an interview with Ugly Phil on Triple M, Dave Grohl said that he went to see a psychic, and she said to him, "Can you see ghosts and things?" I said, "No, I've never really seen ghosts." She said, "Do you see things in the sky?" I said, "Well, I've always dreamed of UFOs and things in the sky." She said, "Those are not dreams. You've experienced those things in your life." I'm like, oh shit.
That is such a poor cold read. Do you see ghosts? No.
No.
What about UFOs? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that one. That's what I meant.
You were abducted by aliens.
Yeah. Also, Ugly Phil, maybe have some self-respect. I don't know, learn to improve your self-talk, and you might not think of yourself as ugly.
I don't know. What did Ugly Phil look like, though?
I don't know.
Hang on.
Sure. Plus, didn't Ugly Dave Gray do the ugly thing already? I feel like he's just fucking...
Is he just carrying on a proud tradition?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Oh, nah, he's right. He's right to call himself ugly.
You didn't even look
Hideous.
at anything.
He's hideous.
You didn't even get to a search result, Robo.
No, I didn't.
He looks like Evil Moby.
Oh, yeah, he does. Looks like Moby crossed with Devin Townsend.
He would be less ugly if he lost that weird little bit of facial hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't know he's from the evil universe.
Yeah, true.
That's fair.
All right, let's talk about World War II.
Okay, let's get on something away from HIV and ugly people to something a little bit more positive.
He just
self-professed.
Yeah, we're not calling him ugly.
People,
yeah, I think he looks fine, if smooth. He looks overly smooth.
He's a smooth-looking dude.
He'd just slide right off you.
Or up.
Maybe that's why he keeps that little coatie. So
a bit of friction.
Yeah, a little bit of friction.
Yeah.
That's the perfect spot.
All right. So the year was 1994 when the Foo Fighters formed, but 50 years previous, in 1944 over France. The 415th Night Fighter Squadron were out on patrol. I think they were blowing up some trains. I say, you know, they were Nazi trains.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag just World War II things.
Yeah. So you've got a few people in the plane. Donald J. Myers, radarman. You've got Lieutenant Ed Schletter, and you've got Fred Ringwald, who I think was the intelligence man. He's like, this is the trains, the ones with the wheels. So they were flying on November 27, 1944, and they saw a red ball of fire appear near the plane.
Yeah, because they're just dropping bombs.
Well, no, they were looking out the window, and one of them said, "What are all those bloody lights over there on the hill?" And then one of them said, "There's no hill over there." And then the lights came at them.
No doubt the intelligence man said that.
Yeah. There's not a hill over there.
No hill there, fellas.
Yep. That's why I'm here.
They looked on the radar. Donald J. Myers looks on the radar. There's nothing there. But they're like, our eyes aren't deceiving us. And then, a big red ball of light sort of starts chasing them. And it's following the plane while they do, fairly high-speed maneuvers.
Trying to get away.
Yeah. They're like, well, that's cooked. It was not the...
That's a direct quote, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, they see the lights come at them. They do some high-speed maneuvers, and eventually the lights disappear. And then they see them reappear really far away. And then they just sort of glide away and vanish. So they finish their mission. They blow up the trains. They come home. And they're like, well, we could say something. But we don't want some quack army doctor being like, oh, you boys you've got combat fatigue.
Yeah. You're shell-shocked.
Yeah. I'm grounding you. Yeah. They're like, we're almost done with our missions.
Yeah. I'm a flyboy. You can't ground me. You might as well kill me.
I guess
can't clip my wings, Sarge.
Well, they didn't want their wings clipped.
Who does want their wing clipped? Especially if you're a flyboy.
Yeah.
Now, some might say, if you think that you are so tired that you're seeing lights following you around, maybe they were just like, oh, we'll get a good night of sleep tonight and we'll be right tomorrow. But maybe you should say something. A few nights later, Lieutenants Henry Giblin and Lieutenant Walter Cleary, they saw a huge red light 1,000 feet above them moving at 200 miles per hour, which is quite fast, even in kilometres, which it should have been because they're in France.
What is it in knots, do we know?
Doesn't matter because they're in a plane. They put it down to food poisoning.
Yep.
They're like, oh, it must have been something funny at chow. And they also didn't report it.
Okay.
A few nights later, December 22, another of the 415th Night Fighter Squadron pilots saw two lights coming from the ground. They reached an altitude of about 1,000 feet, which was where they were, and stayed on their tail. It had a large orange glow. And after 2 minutes, the lights turned away and disappeared. Then the next night, David McFalls and Ned Baker saw a glowing red object shoot straight up. Then when they were looking at it, they said it looked like an aircraft doing a wing over, which I think is when it turns over with the wing, I guess.
Makes sense.
You started explaining it, but you just said it, the literal thing.
Yeah. And then it dived and disappeared. And it was about this point that someone was like, oh, should we mention this to the bosses, the HQ?
Yep.
So they did. So they reported all these things. The name Foo Fighter comes from a comic book. Did you come across this comic?
Yeah,
I had Foo Flyers or something, right?
I came across two different explanations. Do you want to say the comic book one?
There was a comic book called Smokey Stover by a guy called Bill Holman. It's about a firefighter, and he constantly, the comic constantly featured the word foo as just a nonsense phrase.
I bet that comic was racist as hell.
Apparently it had a lot of puns.
Okay.
There may well have been a few racist puns in there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a go at Smokey Stover. A common catchphrase of Smokey Stover was, where there's foo, there's fire. Some other catchphrases that didn't catch on were the catchphrase, Notary Sojak and Scram Gravy Ain't Wavy.
Whoa.
Were just things that would pop up in the comic every now and then.
Yeah, right.
I did find on a, you know how a little modern problem that we'll all be familiar with when you're looking for a recipe online and you've got to read the whole story of their life before you get to the recipe.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Hey,
I think
relatable.
We need to cap takes on that.
All right. Well,
that is.
We may well cap takes on that, but this will be the last one.
Okay, good.
Their gravy recipe started off with a story about how when they were a kid, whenever they'd have gravy in the house, someone would say, "Scram gravy ain't wavy," and they never knew what it meant until they looked it up and they found it was from this comic.
Yeah, right. There you go.
But they still don't know what it means.
No.
Really good.
That's the last recipe blog take.
Really good goulash recipe. Every time I look it up, I have to scroll like 400 miles down the page. To get
We're not
to
doing
it.
those takes anymore.
It's annoying though.
It is annoying.
It is annoying.
And we can all relate to how
we
annoying
can
it
all
is.
relate to it. Yeah. My sourdough recipe that I use every fortnight.
Yeah.
Oh, photo of his dog in the mix.
Right.
Good photos. It's a good looking dog.
I
So
would have thought you would have had that locked away in your memory by now.
nah, there's a lot of different grams and weights, times I got down. Anyway.
Rosemary's. So, what was the other explanation for?
Well, someone else said that it came from French word for fire.
Okay.
Which is
Feu.
F-E-U, foo. So it's a misspelling of foo.
Right.
But it's interesting that this comic is fire related.
Yeah. Well,
but he says where there's foo, there's fire.
Yeah.
Which should just be where there's fire, there's fire.
Yes.
It's like Cam explaining a wing over.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is the French explanation. Because it was Americans in France that worked it out. And apparently the story is that they were doing, eventually when they come clean about what they saw, I guess he got agitated because he didn't want to have his wings clipped.
Mm.
And he had the comic in his back pocket. And this seems like it might have been a comedy bit he was doing. I'm not sure. It's really unclear from the anecdote. But he slams the comic down onto the desk in front of his sergeant. He's like, "It's these fucking Foo Fighters."
Right.
That's who was chasing us, these fucking Foo Fighters. And so then their nickname for these strange balls of light that were following all these guys around became fucking Foo Fighters.
All right.
And then
Some Dave Grohl go with that with the band name.
Yeah,
fucking Foo Fighters.
way tougher.
Fucking Foo Fighters.
Then some journo heard about it and cleaned it up in his story. And then some major was like, when he's doing his report, he's like, "I can't call them fucking Foo Fighters in my official army report. I'll get hauled down.
I'll be sent down the brig."
Yeah. So he cleaned it up as well. So that's how we got Foo Fighters.
Okay.
So, up at HQ, they're like, "What the fuck are these flyboys on about?"
Yeah.
Classic flyboy behaviour.
Yeah.
Too busy hot dogging.
Yeah. Doing inverted bloody flybys of the tower.
Yeah.
Come back from HQ.
Beach
Sure.
volleyball.
Sure you didn't just see some flares, boys? You're like, no. Not flares. No way, mate.
Flares as in like chaff.
As in, pew!
Yeah, it could be chaff.
Yeah, bit of chaff.
They say, "Could you just have been drunk? Was it a little bit of... was it just because you're all drunk?" They're like, "No, there's too many sightings. There are hundreds of sightings in the end."
And also, drinking doesn't make you hallucinate.
There was another section of the Air Force, the 8th Air Force bombers, had reported seeing large silver spheres, which people think were probably some sort of German radar confusing device.
Right.
Chaff.
All right.
Well, like those big balloons that they floated over London during the Blitz and stuff. That sort of thing. Yeah.
But they're like, "No, those are silver. These are all different colours, and they're following us around and shit and doing manoeuvres." Possibly weather balloons. They're like, "We know what a weather balloon is." And then finally,
These fucking Foo Fighters.
they're like, "All right, guys, you've just seen St. Elmo's Fire, haven't you?"
Yeah.
A classic bit of nautical fire mystery.
Yeah.
That you sometimes get on a plane. Are you across St. Elmo's Fire?
Yeah, St. Elmo's Fire is reflections in clouds when you're in the ocean, I think. Is that it?
Sort of. I did a little bit of scientific research. I
Okay.
feel confident that I can explain what St. Elmo's Fire is.
Ergot.
So, it's a thing where, on the tip of stuff, like on the nose of a plane.
Just the tip.
The tip.
Just on the tip.
Nose of a plane, on the wing of a plane, on the mast of a ship, you'll see a strange coloured glow. And what it is when the electric field in the air reaches a value of over 100,000 volts per metre. So within a 1 meter space, it's over 100,000 volts in the air. It's usually when there's a bit of lightning about. It causes the air molecules to ionize and turn into plasma, which causes an effect like fire.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know if there's a huge amount of videos of it online. I saw a lot of videos of like just static electricity that people are like, oh, St. Elmo's fire. And then in the comments, people are like, that's not St. Elmo's fire.
The intelligence men get in there and...
Yeah. You stupid radar men.
So, January 1945, a crew saw some lights moving by themselves and in pairs. And another crew saw 3 sets of lights, which were red and white, and which followed their plane. When they suddenly pulled up, the lights kept going straight, but then followed them. In early 1945, they stopped entirely after the Allies captured territory east of the Rhine, which is where the Germans had their experimental stations.
After the Nazis moved their UFOs to Antarctica.
Which I did find some discussion of while researching this.
So, what's the obvious answer, which is that these were Nazi UFOs?
Nazi UFOs.
Done.
Yeah.
Yep. Next topic.
A lot of them, so many of them sound like reflections. Like, oh, it just was flying next to us for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I think that's just a reflection. But it probably didn't help the first video I watched. They had animations that just used like a lens flare effect.
Yeah.
So like, I just had that in my head that it was just a reflection.
You're looking through the window, there's a light over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time we turn, it moves around.
Yeah. The co-pilot's like shining a little torch going. You can see it in your window.
That seems to be a lot of it. I guess the stress of war, lots of, lights around in the sky, other planes.
Maybe the stress of having a fucking Nazi UFO chasing you.
Yeah. The stress of having a... Wait a minute.
So, the Nazi UFO, there was a guy called Renato Vesco, who was an Italian. According to his bio, he was a fully licensed aircraft engineer, a specialist in aerospace and ramjet developments. He went to the University of Rome and before World War II studied at the German Institute for Aerial Development. During the war, he worked with the Germans at the Fiat Lake Garda secret installation in Italy. And in the 1960s, he worked for the Italian Air Ministry of Defense as an undercover technical agent investigating UFOs.
Sounds like a guy that knows his stuff. What did he have to say?
So he says that they were a secret German weapon called Fuhrballs.
Whoa.
Or fireballs, but in German.
They couldn't call it Führerballs because they can't pluralize that.
So...
Good, that's good.
He said they were a big sort of circular device.
Yep.
They were armoured. They sort of resembled the shell of a tortoise, and they were enormous. They looked a bit like a shining disc spinning on an axis during the day. But by night, they looked like a burning globe. They had a special turbojet engine, which was also flat and circular, which generated a halo of flames around the perimeter, which is why they saw these strange sort of flame effects. Right. They had no pilot.
Right.
And they had no weapons.
Drones.
Well, they were radio controlled when they took off.
Yeah.
But then they would automatically follow enemy aircraft by being attracted to their exhaust flames.
Those sexy flames.
So the idea was that they would get close enough to enemy aircraft to wreck their radio gear. And they could be used simultaneously with a bunch of other ones of them. And they also had a bomb on board in case they had to destroy them mid-flight.
Right. Didn't you say they had no weapons?
They had no weapons besides the bomb.
Right. Their self-destruct bomb.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was their purpose?
Their purpose was to throw off the Allied pilots to make them freak out.
Yeah. Fucks up their radio gear so they can't...
Well, they also had they had something in their fuel that would interrupt the flow of electricity by over-ionizing the atmosphere in the vicinity of the plane,
right?
Generally around the wingtips or the tail surfaces, and would cause the radar on the plane to go skew-whiff.
Right. That just sounds like it's St. Elmo's fire, but they're taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Like when Manowar claimed they put the power out in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly like
the
that.
power of their metal. Well,
I also... Yeah, sorry, go.
It's clearly bullshit. Like, it just doesn't even make any sense.
Well, Well, yeah, that would be my point is if you're going to build something with that capability, you'd just build it to smash in and into the planes and take them down.
Yeah.
Not just to follow them and give them a bit of a fright.
Yeah.
A story to tell the other boys back in the barracks.
Yeah. Just kill them. This is war.
Yeah.
I also note that Wikipedia says, although people cite the single source nature of his claims, the complete lack of evidence supporting them, and the implausible capabilities of the supposed device as nonsense.
Yeah. He also was like born in 1925 or something, so he wouldn't have been old enough in World War II to be working on any of these things.
20?
I think he maybe was born in like the late 1920s then, but he would have been way too young.
A lot of boys since signed up to go fight the war when they were
but not
young.
to go be
aerospace
secret
guy.
German aerospace scientist.
Yeah, true. Maybe a Doogie Howser kind of situation.
But yeah, it's all clearly bullshit. But it is
Doogie Schnauzer.
It's one of those.
He was Italian.
One of those things that has sort of got some currency with like people who are into Nazi UFOs, especially people who wanted the Nazis to have had secret powers.
Yeah, which is everyone, right?
No,
everyone that doesn't want the Nazis to win. Now that they've lost, I guess.
Yeah, but now, don't you wish that was a real thing?
Yeah, maybe. Victor Schauberger, did you come across this guy?
I think so.
Austrian scientist that worked on alternative flight capabilities and built some prototype spinning discs.
Come across that guy.
I was watching one UFO show. I think it was called Project DNA or something. And the guy was telling, like, he was saying he saw one of these prototypes.
Yeah.
And he said, I went in and I saw it. It was only 3.5 feet wide, so you couldn't get in. And he's like, and he kind of stopped to like he was pausing to gloat a little bit. He's like, yeah. And the other guy was just like, yeah, carry on, like whatever. And he just kind of told the story that he was working on alternative propulsion. But I did notice this anecdote in 1939 when Hitler summoned this guy to Berlin for a meeting. He at first greeted him warmly and said he called the meeting to discuss Schauberger's work. However, the meeting lasted for approximately 11 hours before Schauberger could leave.
Oh, jeez. Just Hitler chewing his ear off.
Yeah.
11 hours with Hitler.
Oh, God. Anyway, it also implies that, like, was inherently bad enough. Like, they started warmly, but he didn't leave until after 11 hours. Not saying, like, if you met someone and you hung out with them for 11 hours, maybe it implies you got on really well.
Yeah, not if you say it started warmly, though.
Yeah. Once you say it started warmly, but...
Yeah, it wasn't a late-night Bunnings glass table D&M sesh. Another relatable reference for our listeners.
I don't even know this one.
Like a glass table you bought from Bunnings.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, your outdoor furniture setting. Yeah. Having a late night night chat around the old table, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, we could all relate to that.
I kind of remember this bit.
It's not a bit. It's
I don't
relatable.
know why it has to be from Bunnings.
There's a specific... Fucking hell. Jeffrey A. Lindell wrote an article called A Historical and Physiological Perspective of the Foo Fighters of World War II. Folks, I think he might have cracked it. Might have cracked the old case.
Yeah.
He puts it down to aviators' vertigo.
Right.
So there's a phenomenon called autokinetic illusion, which was discovered in 1799 by Alexander von Humboldt. He was an astronomer, and he noticed that if you stared at a bright star or a planet with the naked eye, it would begin to swing in a back and forth motion.
Right.
And he called it swinging stars, or Sternschwanken.
Really?
Yes. And he, because it's 1799 and they're a bit fucking thick, he's like, I guess stars just swing.
Yeah.
Eh? Until 1857, geez Louise. They're like, oh yeah, you know how stars are always swinging around?
Yeah.
In 1857, though, Dr. G. Schweitzer was like, just looking at some normal lights. He's like, oh, why are those lights swinging? Oh, it's just a trick of the light.
Right.
So that went 60 or so years, though. And then he went around trying to find other examples of, like, lights swinging. And I guess he got people to write in on the back of a postcard. If you know, like the legend of like the headless horseman,
Yeah.
like going through the countryside with their lanterns swinging. He's like, that's just people seeing a light in the distance and this phenomenon happening to it.
Right.
Why isn't that a thing still then?
Well, it shouldn't have been a thing at the time because
I've never heard of anyone saying, "Oh, those lights in the distance swinging." That's because of the old swinging light phenomenon.
Yeah.
Why did this stop?
Remember when we used to think that was the headless horseman?
Yeah.
No, but it's still a thing that you can see. You can still see this happen. If you look at a light for long enough, you'll see it'll appear like it's moving.
Okay.
It's still a thing. They didn't change eyes.
Well, I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
and I stare at lights fucking all the time.
Yeah. That big one, first thing in the morning
Yeah.
on the horizon.
Yeah, me and Pete.
Anyway, as Jeffrey Lindell sort of snarkily notes, even the headless horseman thing shouldn't have made sense at the time. Because, like, why would he have a lantern if he's got no head?
Yeah.
He's out there looking for his head. What's he using a lantern for?
To scare people.
No, he's swinging it around like he's looking for where his head is.
Can't see.
He can't see. He doesn't have any eyes.
Yeah, but if he's looking for where his head is, his head's in some dirt somewhere. His head's going to see the light.
Yeah. Hey, I'm over here.
Hey, body. And the body's like, can't hear.
Yep.
Don't have any ears.
Robbo's peeled me.
Anyway, they also think that's what like will-o-wisps are.
Oh yeah.
But basically, that's what he thinks this is. There's also a bunch of phenomenons you can experience when you're flying at nighttime. Hallucinations you can have due to vertigo. He did some research and found that pilots who were really familiar with the symptoms of vertigo could tell when they were having these hallucinations.
Right.
But people who hadn't been trained in this at all were like, what the fuck's going on?
Rookie flyboys.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there was basically no training in this, or it was all just stuff that sort of gets passed down in the locker room after volleyball.
Yeah.
There
Plus,
was
bloody war's hell. There probably was no old-timer flyboys.
Yeah.
No, they called the British guys the 20-minuters.
Oh.
So that's how long they lasted on their first flights.
Right.
And that wasn't because they were just taking a short flight.
No.
They were shot down.
Oops.
Did you come across any ball lightning gear?
So that's the other explanation for seeing a big ball of light in the sky. It's just ball lightning.
But no one knows what ball lightning is.
Yeah.
No one's ever really been to work it out if it even exists. And basically, there's some retellings that... There's one kind of semi-famous one of a couple were in this, like, what do you call that? A band rotunda.
Rotunda, yeah.
And this ball of light kind of rolled over their feet and just kind of was making a hissing sound like a struck match.
What were they doing in the rotunda?
Probably making out. Necking, probably.
Maybe smoking a doob?
And then...
Isn't that the prime use of rotundas? Smoking weed?
No, a band.
hanging
A
out.
brass band.
Yeah, a good old swing band.
I would say if we were on...
For all the community to enjoy, Cam.
If we were on Jeopardy and the question was use of rotundas, I think...
Well, they wouldn't phrase it like that.
What the rotundas get used for...
Again, they wouldn't phrase it.
Number one,
Jeopardy?
the most answered thing... Oh, not Jeopardy. What's the one with the...
Oh, my Lord.
What's the one where they poll the audience then?
Family Feud?
If they're on Family Feud...
Yeah.
They would say, what's the most used thing for a rotunda?
Jesus Christ.
Answer number one, what is a band?
That's not how Family Feud works.
Answer number
And that wouldn't be a category in Family Feud.
Answer number one would be bands.
No.
Giving us all pleasure.
God damn it.
Answer number two would be makeouts. And answer number three would be bonging on.
Cam, you're not allowed to talk about those games anymore, game shows.
And if it was on the American Family Feud, someone would be like, hand jobs? And that black guy would be like, whoa, you can't say that.
But that is...
Steve Harvey or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that is the second most answered thing.
Right.
Guess who?
That's what's happening in rotundas.
Guess
I'm not
who?
going to fucking clean up what's happening in rotundas for our audience. They're big enough and ugly enough to know.
All right.
And listeners, at us, if you've seen more bands in rotundas than bonged on in a rotunda.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Salty, what would you say? Smoke joints, bands.
Band, or just go have a sit.
Yep.
Yeah, I said the first response
bit of
would
shade
be bands.
in the park.
Yeah.
Then the second response would be hand jobs. Then the third would be just making out, and the fourth would be bonging.
Yeah, so I said making out. You're like, no. Oh, fucking stoned. These
No,
two stoners.
I agreed with you. Jeez. Could you revise history a little bit more, MAGA-teen? With your little hat? Your little MAGA hat
Did you just
teen.
say MAGA?
MAGA. You're like one of those little MAGA hat teens trying to gaslight us in the media.
He totally said mugger.
MAGA-teen? I said
You
MAGA.
little mugger-teen.
Anyway, fuck off. I will not be lectured on how to speak properly by this man.
Ooh. Oh, crikey. I won't be lectured on speaking properly. I'm an Australian.
Oh, can we move on from this?
Yeah, I'm cutting a lot of this.
Don't cut any of it.
Okay, cool. British occultist Aleister Crowley reported what he witnessed as globular electricity during a thunderstorm in 1916. He noticed with what he can only describe as calm amazement. Talk yourself up, Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I was amazed, but I was calm.
I was calm by it. Dazzling globe of electric fire, apparently between 6 and 12 inches. That's 15 to 30 centimeters in diameter.
Is this just a Crowley weather report, or was he doing a spell at the time?
What does it say? It was pre like his LSD crazy days. But it like went up to his knee and then hit him in the hand. He felt a slight shock in the middle of my right hand.
Calm shock.
Yeah.
So ball lightning seems to be the explanation that's pretty widely accepted, right?
Yes. Well,
and as a phenomenon, whatever, it's pretty widely accepted that it's a thing, but it's like no one knows how it works,
and
why
also
it happens.
Many of the reports of it are quite at odds with each other.
Yeah, we can't replicate it. Like
some people have tried. Some scientists think it might be some sort of like particles lighting on fire, like St. Elmo's fire. There's quite a few
turning into plasma, like dust balls.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So there's a few explanations, but no one's really cracked it. I don't think anyone's really recreated it.
See, if it was a ball of ionized dust that kind of gathered in a little wind vortex and happened to ignite and be a little ball that floated around. That would make sense if you were in a plane and you flew past one and it started following you, because it would get sucked into your tailwind.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then it's behind us. Do some maneuvers. Left, right. Wing over. Barrel roll.
Yeah.
Like it's going to follow you because you've created this.
Yeah. Loop-de-loop.
Yeah. That one where they go up and then they stall.
Ah, yeah.
And then tumble and then start again.
Yeah. The uppy stall tumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
So yeah, it's either ball lightning, it's vertigo, or it's just looking at a star. I mean, like,
bloody swinging stars.
And also, there was a bit of this in like the Pacific Theatre as well. It was reported. So it probably wasn't Nazis.
I'd be curious to know if they were all similar types of planes at the time.
Yeah.
Like whether or not there's a particular, and I'm coming back to reflection, but like a particular shape on the,
the dome.
The dome, yeah. That kicks the light in a different direction.
Well, boys, I think that's Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
We only just cracked it. Shall we take a little break and come back with a bit of Project Blue Book?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back. We have a lot of fun talking about UFOs on the show. Now, imagine if we could have even more fun by talking about the extreme US government bureaucracy that surrounded UFOs.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I love bureaucracy.
It's like all the fun of UFOs, but with paperwork.
Yeah.
Wait, he didn't say bureaucracy, Robbo.
So in 1947, there'd been a whole bunch of UFO reports, and the US Air Force began a study into what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Called Project Sign. It was run out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and it did not come to any conclusions.
Yeah.
Except that all of the UFOs were not Soviet, and they weren't Nazi UFOs.
Mm.
They were not of this Earth, so they were definitely aliens.
Yep.
But otherwise, no conclusions.
Yeah.
Now, it's a bit of a tricky one, because that is the conclusion that they sort of wanted them to come to.
Yep.
Because they didn't want people freaking out about commie UFOs or like Nazi UFOs coming back.
Yeah.
However, once they reached that conclusion, they did realise that it's also not ideal to conclude that it's aliens.
Yeah.
So they scrapped Project Sign and they replaced it with Project Grudge, which was a...
Sign, S-I-G-N?
Yes. Project Grudge was a debunking project, and so they looked into UFO reports and they debunked every UFO that they came across, except for like 20% of them, which they could not explain. But they did explain 80% of them or so as being just lights, or it was a car going over a hill. Or,
reflections in cockpits.
Yeah, or it was Venus, etc., etc.
Venus does a lot of heavy lifting in the UFO world, doesn't it?
It does. Well, it's very bright.
Yeah.
I feel like this is probably from the movie MIB. Does it get reflected in swamp gas a lot?
I think, is that a combination of UFO explanations? Because swamp gas is...
That's what... That comes later, the swamp gas thing.
There is a bit of swamp gas later on in this story.
That guy, the main guy whose name I forgot before.
So...
can I just throw it out there? MIB, both 1 and 2, very enjoyable movies. Haven't seen... They've made a third one, right?
They did make a third one.
I haven't seen that.
There's a new one too.
Oh.
It's got Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, yeah.
And that chick from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Who played Valkyrie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good combo. Good combo on Thor Ragnarok. I'm sure they'll be great in the new MIB.
Yeah.
MIB International or something, I think it's called.
That's what it's called.
MIB 2 was very much similar to the first MIB.
Yeah, and the first one was good.
I really liked the first one.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about that government UFO project, which was fun. We're talking about this one where they were like, "Oh, are you sure you didn't just see Venus?"
Yeah.
And then they don't even do a voomp.
That we know of.
So they don't know what they want, because then they get rid of Project Grudge. They're like, this isn't what we wanted to hear either.
Yeah.
I don't know what we want to hear. Start a new one. They start Project Blue Book with a guy called Edward J. Rappelt, who's a captain in the Air Force.
Right, that's not the guy I'm thinking of, though.
And they also... There's another guy involved whose name is...
J something.
Like Hynek?
Yeah.
Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
J. Allen Hynek, yeah. So he was a guy I watched some stuff about.
Yeah, he was like one of the main scientist guys.
Yeah.
Involved in this. So Rappelt, I guess he looked at the 2 previous projects and he was like, all right, we're going to go right down the middle. Anyone who was involved in the project who was too on the side of aliens got booted.
Yeah.
And anyone who got involved in the project who was like too much, oh, it's just Venus, they got booted as well. You had to be very much... He didn't want any Scolders or Mullies.
Yeah.
He didn't want any Molders or Scullies. He wanted a Mully or a Scolder.
Half a beer down.
Do you want to know why it was called Project Blue Book?
Yeah, I do. I think the listeners do. I know why. It's a fucking nerdy reason.
All right, play the role of the listener. Yes, I would like to know.
Oh, yeah, sure. Luke, tell me.
Because they wanted to take it seriously, and at the time, colleges and universities, when they were doing exams, the exam papers or the little booklets they got were blue.
Right.
And so Rappelt was like, let's call it Blue Book.
Everyone will think it's serious.
Yeah.
As serious as a college exam.
Yeah. This is your future hinges on this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If you don't take this seriously, you'll be sucking dick in a gutter.
Oh. Holy moly. Anyway, Blue Book starts in like 1952 after the other 2 went from like 1947. 1952 is also the year that the Washington DC was buzzed by UFOs.
Oh.
Which freaked out President Truman.
Isn't that when Aleister Crowley died?
It is. So we've talked about this. This is the Washington DC UFO incident where there were radar pings and visual sightings of UFOs all over Washington DC. And they're like, what's going on. They asked Rappelt. He's like, oh, it's probably like a atmospheric pressure thing. He hadn't looked into it. That was just his guess. He's like, it'll be atmospheric pressure.
Based on those other two things we did, probably just that.
Yeah. It always is.
Yeah.
But Truman was like freaking out. He's like, if there's even a 1% chance that there's some sort of national security risk, we've got to get to the bottom of this. So the CIA gets involved. They set up a study group, a UFO study group, to find out what the go was with UFOs.
Jeez, this is nerdy.
Yeah. It is. And they looked into it. They looked into all of the Project Blue Book material. They spent 12 hours going through all of the studies they'd done.
12 hours doesn't sound like a long time.
No.
You can tell it's early on in this field. They spent 12 hours.
I think it was a few years of research, but they just
an hour a week.
Yeah,
they just did they spent 12 hours straight, I think.
Yeah,
going over it, and they're like,
little study group in the library.
They're like, it's fine. There's no UFOs. There's no aliens. There's nothing here. But they're like, it is a problem that people think there's UFOs. So we need to do something about that. So number one, we have to make sure nobody knows that we looked into this. So we're going to do a proper CIA cover-up, which doesn't help later on when people find out that the CIA did a cover-up of when they looked into UFOs.
Yeah, because they should have said, hey, we've really looked into this, and you can trust us. We're the CIA, and we're famously not doing cover-ups at this point.
Yeah.
Further down the track, you're going to not believe us, but now you don't have any reason not to believe us.
Yeah. So they did an actual cover-up.
Yeah. This is why you get into trouble, CIA.
They also were like, we need to convince people that UFOs are fine, or that there aren't any. So let's do a massive propaganda campaign.
Good.
Using our friends in the media, within the fields of science. Let's get Walt Disney involved. Let's just make sure everyone knows that UFOs are nothing to worry about. Because their worry was that even though maybe there wasn't a real national security threat from, getting zapped by a flying saucer, the Soviets could flood. Well, firstly, they could convince everyone that there's heaps of UFOs cause of hysteria, which would cause a big problem if there was panic in the streets, there was rioting, etc.
No one wants that.
Classic bloody Russians. Mm-hmm. Or they could have there be so many reports of UFOs coming in that they sneak a fucking nuke in. They're getting all the reports and they're like, oh, a big bloody cigar-shaped UFO. Throw that on the crazy pile.
Yeah. Boom! We're fucked.
It's the boy who cried wolf strategy.
Yeah. So they're like, so we've got to put a stop to it. So they went out there and tried to put the word out that UFOs were fine, or that they didn't exist, or they weren't quite sure what they wanted to do.
Right.
Walt Disney did get contacted by the government to do something with UFOs. We've talked about this, I think, in the Disney show that we did. They did like 3 movies about space. There's a missing 4th one, which was supposed to be about UFOs. And people from the government contacted Walt Disney and said, we've got footage that you can use in this UFO documentary of UFOs.
Right.
We've got... They're like, oh, how much footage have you got? Because they needed something good for this doco. They can't just have talking heads.
Mickey Mouse talking about UFOs.
It can't just be the Hulu Fire Festival doco with none of the great bloody fuck Jerry B-roll.
Yeah, but Hulu was the independent one.
Anyway.
Have you seen the Hulu one?
No.
Neither.
We need like some real A-grade footage. And these government guys are like, yeah, we've got miles of footage of UFOs. You wouldn't believe the shit we've got. And then they disappear. They're like, oh, no, we can't give you anything. And so that's why the doco got shuttered.
Right.
So they did try. But then it sounds like someone at the CIA was going to Walt Disney being like, let's make everyone think that UFOs are real.
Well, that goes into the whole predictive programming shit, right?
Yeah. So getting people ready.
Yeah.
Making them used to the idea of UFOs. So when it happens, which, if that has been the plan around UFOs, certainly hasn't, the way that movies have gone involving UFOs, certainly won't stop people from freaking out.
Yeah.
We don't know, though, because there hasn't been a UFO.
Yeah, but like all the movies, most movies paint UFOs
when they show
as being...
up, it's really bad.
Yeah.
But then when they show up and it's fine, wouldn't we be like, oh, this is nice?
Yeah, but then what's the point of the predictive programming? Except for those 80s ones where, like, So I Married a Martian. What's that one?
Alf.
Alf. Oh yeah, he was good.
My favourite Martian.
Arrival, a recent one where they sort of show up and it's not really that bad.
Yeah, no. Spoiler alert for Arrival, but there you go.
Haven't seen that.
It's good.
Won't bother now.
Yeah, you should. No, you should still see it. It's very good.
Okay. Contact.
Yep. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
So yeah, they were looking at like the Soviet newspapers and there was no UFO stories.
Right.
So they're like, what are the Soviets have got this locked down? What are they up to?
Wait, so did they think the Soviets were on top of the UFO problem, or they were causing the UFOs?
I think they were maybe thinking that it was a bit of both. They're like, if there are UFOs, the Soviets are like not hamming it in the Pravda, but otherwise they're up to no good.
Yeah, I feel like if the Soviets did have UFOs, they wouldn't tell anyone.
So that happens. The other thing they recommend is that they monitor private UFO groups. That they say we should spy on people who think that there are UFOs in case they're secretly up to no good.
So wait, so if you think there's a UFO, they're going to spy on you?
Basically, you know how people who think that they've seen UFOs think that the government is watching them? That the government really was watching them.
Well, I guess that was the era that Men in Black, the terminology, came into parlance?
I think so.
Because we haven't done a Men in Black show, have we?
Nah, not specifically on them.
We have talked about it though.
Yeah. That'd be good. We could also branch out into the other work of Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. Not so much Will Smith. He's had some questionable career decisions.
Have you seen the pictures of him as the genie?
No. In Aladdin. Not good?
Anyway, things get complicated a couple of years later, in 1954, when the CIA starts testing out the U-2 planes, their spy planes.
Yeah.
And UFO sightings skyrocket.
Okay.
Because people are seeing the U-2.
Right.
And
how many U-2 planes are they testing? Do we know?
I don't know if they had a huge amount of them, but they're doing a bunch of tests, and people see them, and they call in that they've seen a UFO, and then over at UFO headquarters, they've got to whip out the blue book and be like, oh geez Louise, just looked at Will Smith as the genie.
Yeah, there's something weird about that. Is that racial?
He's gone with a bit of an ugly feel.
Like, is he trying to look Persian?
I don't know.
I think he's going for a Persian look, and he's not Persian.
I don't know. Why didn't they blew him up?
I'm looking forward to the theme song about Aladdin. Aladdin, Baddin. Like I'm playing Madden.
So anyway, they get all these reports of UFOs, and now they're proper scientific testing blue book shit, where they're keeping it straight down the line. They have to start filling their books up with bullshit because they know what people are seeing.
Right.
They know about U2.
So they have to start covering it up.
Yeah. And so they're like, oh, that'd be ice crystals. That'd be a bit of swamp gas. That'd be this, that'd be that. And actually, these people have seen a craft flying through the air, and they know what they saw. And I've got to feel like that contributed significantly to UFO paranoia. The fact that people knew what they saw and the government tried to gaslight them.
It all comes back to the government being pretty shitty. And they've created this problem for themselves where they've created the UFO book groups, the projects. Then they've covered that up. And then the CIA's created planes. And then they've had to cover that up through things. Like, it's a farcical circle of bureaucracy.
So yeah, from the 50s through to the 60s, they reckon about half of UFO sightings were their planes.
Right.
Do you want to know what happened to Edward Ruppelt?
I do.
So he basically said that UFOs were a space-age myth in 1960. And then, September 15th, 1967, died of a heart attack, age 37.
Jeez Louise. Wait, age 37?
Yep.
In what year?
1960.
Wait, then how old was he in...
1954 when it all started.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sure, I thought that far.
34?
Yeah.
That other guy, what was the other guy's name?
Jay Hainan.
Hainan? watched a couple of things about him. He was an interesting cat.
Mm.
So he was very much in the... I like his stance on it. He was in the team of, look, there's you guys who completely... Well, he was hired to debunk UFOs originally, but he was very much in the camp of, hey, you guys that absolutely don't believe in UFOs and you guys that absolutely do believe in UFOs, you both have to take an objective look at this stuff and look at the science and look at the evidence, and we really we need to
work together
and figure this out. Look, you guys believe, you guys don't, but you both need to sort of take the whole thing into view and have a look at it all. And let's not say yes or no. Let's kind of just look at the evidence. Let's be, proper researchers about it and do this the right way. So he went somewhere to do some study, and it was when he was at that the government, who were like overlooking the whole project, were like, did a press conference and said, right, we need an explanation, 20 minutes. You've got to explain what this UFO was. And he was like, Jesus. All right. And that's when he went in front of the media and said, oh, yeah, it was swamp gas igniting. And that basically ruined his career.
He just bullshitted.
Because he just bullshitted it.
But his arm was twisted.
Yeah, he was put on the spot by the government, which is shit. And he was just like, oh yeah, swamp gas igniting. And all the UFO people who were like, this guy's all right. He's kind of on our side. Were like, fuck this guy. And the scientists were like,
swamp gas igniting? That's
fucking
stupid.
Dumbass. That's not what it could have been. But he went on for years. He died in like the 80s, 85 or something. He died of brain cancer. But his whole life he talked about it from that same perspective of like, yeah, who knows?
And I feel like they had the right idea, because part of the Blue Book thing was that they came up with like a survey that they'd do. It was like a standardized questions that they would ask, so they could get a nice clean data set rather than just going around and talking to like these flyboys who'd seen something and who were like afraid everyone's going to say they're crazy. They just came up with a nice, clean, scientific way to look at it.
The guy that founded it, Rappelt, he also coined the term UFO. It didn't exist up until he came along. It was always flying saucer or flying discs. He's like, nah, this is kind of...
It's kind of dumb.
Yeah, and also it's kind of scaring people, and people immediately think it's an alien.
Yeah.
If it's a saucer, it's kind of putting that idea in their head that, oh, no, we don't have saucers on Earth. We do, but they don't fly.
It is a pretty good, safe name for it.
Yeah.
It's like, it is literally
unidentified.
An object that's flying that we can't identify.
In terms of branding, he branded the shit out of UFOs.
Also, I keep forgetting his name.
Heinen.
Created the encounters of the different encounters of the first kind, encounters of the second kind, encounters of the third kind. He came up with that terminology.
What are the levels? It was first seeing...
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So close encounters of the first kind is just a sighting.
Yeah.
Close encounters of the second kind is that there's some sort of evidence that something was here, like
a picture?
A picture or a crop circle or a landing site or whatever. And a close encounter of the third kind is contact. Hence the Steven Spielberg movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which he was a consultant on.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
He's also got a little cameo in it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a shot of the crowd and he's standing there going, looking at the spaceship.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a wee nipper.
Same. I'd like to watch it again.
Yeah, me too. It's not on Netflix. Jaws is on Netflix.
Jaws is great.
Yeah.
So after all of this, the government fucked off those guys. They got a few other people to run Project Blue Book until they shut it down in like 1968 or something.
Yeah.
But they just went back to debunking everything.
Yeah.
Didn't really take it seriously again until, I guess, the 2000s when they appropriated a bunch of black money and started digging up UFOs with Tom DeLonge.
That we know of.
Yeah.
They could have been. I feel like the government and the FBI and maybe even the CIA kind of got distracted by just hippies in the late 60s. And I guess probably also like smearing communist groups as terrorists. They're like, oh, we don't need to do UFOs anymore.
Well, in the 80s, I guess consumer electronics had reached the point where probably UFO sightings were going way down. We've discussed that before.
Cocaine was up.
Yeah.
The stock market was up.
Yeah, everyone's too busy.
Synthesizers were up.
Oh, yeah. Just some sick saw waves just vibrated the air in a certain way.
Yeah.
Fucking tripping out.
I've got a story from Robert Crumb.
Yep.
About the Disney UFO project.
Cartoonist Robert Crumb?
Yes.
Right.
The degenerate cartoonist.
Yeah.
Bob Armstrong, Al Dodge, and myself, I guess they're all cartoonists or jazz guys, were visiting Ward...
Cartoonists or beatniks.
Yeah, they're beatniks. That's what Robert Crumb was into. They were visiting Ward Kimball, who was one of the main animators at Disney.
Yeah.
He told us an interesting story. Back in the 1950s, they were working on a series about rockets and outer space technology for the Disneyland TV show. I remember seeing those shows when I was a kid. There was a scientist named Wilkins who worked on the project. Wilkins started bringing around this guy called Hunrath, supposedly a colleague of his. Kimball said at first no one took much notice of the guy Hunrath. He was just unobtrusive. Later people started asking, well, just who is this Hunrath? He was kind of strange. He didn't say much. He walked kind of stiffly, and he wore a suit and tie that were ill-fitting. Then Wilkins and Hunrath disappeared, and people tried to remember what they could about Hunrath. Ward Kimball recalled that once at a dinner party at his house, oatmeal cookies were served for dessert. Hunrath picked up a cookie and was turning it over in his hands and studying it very closely. Then he bit off a little piece, chewed on it a while, and asked Ward's wife what the cookie was made of. The last time anyone saw Wilkins, he said he and Hunrath were going where there was no death or taxes. Then he laughed. Ward Kimball was very serious when he told us this story. He was amused, yet he thought it was strange.
You know what he was? Two little aliens on each other's shoulders.
Yeah.
In a man suit.
Yeah.
Apparently there was actually a guy called Wilbur Wilkinson and Carl Hunrath who were involved, and Robert Crumb's just got the wrong end of the stick. They did disappear looking for a UFO, though.
They disappeared completely?
Yes, they got on a plane to go find a UFO in the Mojave Desert.
Okay.
No one ever saw them again. But also apparently that guy with the cookies, it was fair to look at the cookie and wonder what was in it.
Right.
You know what happened? They were flying to the Mojave Desert, saw a rotunda.
Yep.
And were like, let's just bong on for the rest of eternity.
No death or taxes, just bongs.
Just bonging on. Occasional hand jobs.
There was this is kind of a side thing, but I want to share it. There's a famous Reddit story of this guy that had a newish girlfriend, maybe late teens, early 20s or something.
Newish as in newish to life?
Newish to him.
Right.
Meeting her parents for the first time, and for some reason he thought it would be funny to pretend that he'd never seen a potato before.
Right.
And then the joke just got out of hand. And so he was at the table so what is this? A potato? And then the dad just started getting angry and he's like, I'm in too deep. I've just got to keep going. Because it was such a dumb joke to do. And he ended up just getting kicked out of the house. Because he didn't know, he pretended not to know what a potato was.
I did get one last bit of Walt Disney gear. It's not UFO related. It is CIA related. Apparently, and this is a true story, when he was setting up Disney World in Florida, he got a couple of ex-CIA guys to buy all the property. Because if he'd gone in and it was I'm building a theme park, all of the property prices would have gone up. He got these spooks to go in and be like, oh, I just want to buy a little bit of land. And then the other one's like, I'd like to buy a little land too. And they bought up all of this land before anyone realised what was happening. And then they also, to get around regulations and things, formed their own little town there and got Disney employees in to be voters so that they would control all of the laws.
Jeez.
That doesn't sound like it should be allowed to happen, does it?
No. But it does seem like if you wanted someone to be putting the word out about UFOs, you'd be like, well, we've already got a relationship with old Walt Disney.
Disney's wartime cartoons were great.
Yeah, he had a lot of anti-Nazi gear, didn't he?
He's on board.
Unlike Guinness, who had a lot of pro-Nazi gear.
Guinness the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a shame. Anyway, do we have any more on Project Blue Book?
Nah, I'm out of gear.
Yeah.
I'm telling bloody Reddit potato stories. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Nah, I just had my Heinen gear.
Yeah.
There is a television series about Project Blue Book on TV at the moment. I don't know if it's on Australian TV, but it is on the History Channel.
Yeah, that's a Foxtel channel.
Oh yeah, well you might be able to catch it on Foxtel then. It's a dramatisation of the Blue Book project. I think that there may be some sort of conspiracy going on because there's a guy. Apparently, there's a guy in a black hat that they keep seeing.
Ooh.
Fucking that guy. Anyway, good timing though for this episode.
Definitely. One thing I would like to add, if you are planning on starting a stadium rock band, maybe go through UFO files and see if anything jumps out. You got your U2, you got your Foo Fighters. Maybe you'll find your own little stadium rock band. Or maybe the CIA are behind both U2 and the Foo Fighters. Think about it.
Okay. I thought about it. Now it's time for you to tell us where they can find you online, Robbo.
You can get me at Ale of a Time, aleofatime.com. The Ale of a Time podcast is about to come back swinging for
the fences
for New Year's with some good gear. Get ready. Salty?
Sure. I'm ready.
Good. Where can they find you, Salt?
Oh, that's what we were doing that. I thought you meant we were going to have some good gear.
Well, obviously.
Bloody plugging all the good gear in his own stuff. You can get me at Saltmarsh on Instagram and Twitter, and Andrew Saltmarsh Illustration on Facebook for artwork. And check out Toe Hider on Patreon, and come see Toe Hider at the Progfest shows that are happening. I'll be at the Melbourne one on Saturday, but you probably won't hear this by then. So
I saw a flyer for that.
Okay.
I was walking along in Melbourne Central, the shopping mall, and went, oh, there's a Progfest poster on that pillar.
Yeah.
Stopped to have a look to see if my friends Toe Hider were there.
Yeah.
There they were.
Yep. There you go.
I'm not going to go to this show, unfortunately. I've got.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can find me, Sexenheimer, on Twitter, and Gather Around Me on Facebook and Instagram. Gather Around Me is coming back shortly. We've recorded a new episode. We can get some hot takes on the Magatines, some hot takes on Take 5.
What about the Muggatines?
I didn't say mugger, so it doesn't matter.
Also, jump on our Patreon and sign up if you're not already, because it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of shit going on there that's cool.
If you want to hear dumb takes on the Muggatines, tune in, sign up for the Patreon, because we're going to be talking about that in a second.
Did this guy just say Muggatines?
Yeah, I'm mocking you.
All right, and thanks to Tom, our $33 cooked unit sponsor.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. Except you can definitely hear John Lennon say I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing. Except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry about a thing. Except Donald Trump is clearly a woman, and you're just blind if you can't see that. Why don't you open your eyes?